to the average person who doesn't know Hunter the way you know Hunter, like to the average person that, politically, whether they're like, you understand, the president is this, and Hunter is a drug addict, and he's done this, and he's ruined so many people's lives, and there's strong opinions and emotions to him. What is your impression, not of Hunter, what is your impression of Hunter's father, okay, where sometimes you're dating somebody and you meet a girl, you're like, oh my God, this girl's got a lot of problems. And then you meet the parents, you're like, oh, no wonder you have a lot of problems. I don't blame you. These are who raised you, right? You meet a guy, you're dating a guy, you're like, wow, this guy's very stable. How is he? The other day I watched a 12-year-old kid give a speech. You thought this guy was a president at 12 years old. And then you meet the parents, you're like, okay, I'm not surprised that this behavior is happening. Did you ever ask yourself saying, how did this guy become this kind of an addict? What did his father do? What did the family do to influence this behavior? And maybe from your end, what is your impression of Hunter's father?
Well, I'll say this. To begin, I always felt like Hunter was who he was because of the things that he had gone through. And I didn't ever think it was so much on his father's end. I thought it was more the tragedies that he had gone through with, his mother and losing Bo. I feel like those really impacted his life. And his father was sworn into the Senate by their hospital bed. That I don't really know how I would feel about that. I don't know if, he felt like, I don't feel like Hunter ever felt like he got the love he deserved from anyone. And I felt like he was constantly looking for that in everyone. And I talk about that throughout the book. I feel like he yearned for some form of love, just like my daughter yearns for that love from her father. And so I always put it off on Hunter was the person that he was because of the tragedies that he had gone through. And that's more so of what I thought. And you asked what I thought of Joe as well. There's a story in the book. And I'm in Wilmington with Hunter, and we're at Bo's house together, and it's just us. And one of my friends there, but I talk about there was a knock at the door, and Hunter, first he doesn't hear it, and I'm like, Hunter, someone just knocked on the door. He's like, what? Someone's at the door, and he's in the middle of his addiction, and he goes out there. And I talk about how, I go and I'm like peeking through this window trying to see like who's out there, what's going on. And I can see, Hunter's back is to me and it's Joe. And he's looking at Hunter. And I'll never forget the look on his face. And it was such a look of helplessness and hurt.
Joe Biden.
Yeah, because he's seeing his son in the state. And, he had to know, even though he's not like using right there in front of him, he knew what state he was in. And, I think Hunter has said several times how, his family tried to step in and help so many times. And they had a quick conversation out there. And shortly after, Hunter came in, you could tell he was affected by it. He didn't want to let his dad down. But the look of hurt on Joe's face as he watched, and I don't know what Hunter was saying to him, and I'm sure making up excuses or something. They had some sort of, they had something to do that day, some family thing that he had to be at, and I was supposed to take one of his vehicles back to the Annapolis house, and it was a short conversation, but I sit there just in awe of the look on his face, because I wasn't a parent at the time. Also, I was pregnant at the time, but didn't know it. And, now looking back on that, I can't imagine. I've seen that painful look on his face where, he's hurting for his child and there's nothing he can do. Because Hunter made that very clear during his addiction. This is my addiction. There's nothing you can do to make me stop it. I'll quit when I want to quit. And I saw that look of hurt, and now it really resonates because I talk in the book, Navy gets a lot of Hunter's traits and great ones. He does have good traits, I promise. But one trait that I hope she never gets is that addiction that he battled. I never want to have to look at her the way that Joe looked at his son that day, with that hurt and just feeling hopeless, helpless. You know, you can't save him. You know, this is a battle that he might not win.
What did you mean when you said sworn into Senate by bedside? What did you mean by that?
Well, I know that if, you know, that tragedy had happened, I don't...
With his first wife dying, that's what you're saying?
Yes.
Right.
And then, you know, Hunter and Bo were in the hospital, and he was sworn into Senate by their bedside. I know that if that tragedy would have happened, I don't know if I'd have been able to be sworn in that day.
Well, let me get this straight. So did Hunter tell you about this? Did he ever share this?
No, I've seen it. It's been like on the internet or something.
So he never brought it up to you. This is something that you've seen independently yourself.
Yes.
So what you're saying is your wife, your bedside, your kids are there, and you're being sworn in instead of saying, give me some time to mourn before I do this. Is this the one you're talking about?
Wow.
Yeah.
And who is in this picture right now, Rob?
That's either Hunter or Bo right there on the bed, I believe. And I think, you know, Hunter, I was actually told this as I wrote the book. Hunter didn't really talk about that time. And now he talked about his mother. There was a time, you know, we were on the train, and I tell a story about how we're on his laptop, and he shows me pictures of his mother. And one of them, it was such a candid picture of her, and she's like in this bathing suit, and she's beautiful. And he was just, you know, mesmerized by it. And, you know, you could tell that love for his mother. And I had heard, as I was writing the book, you know, that picture always kind of bothered me, because it's like you said, I would have probably taken that time off.
So, Rob, can you go back and to read the details below? You had something. I'm curious to know what it says to us, because I'm now curious. I've never seen these before. Soon after Delaware Senator Joseph Biden was elected November 20, 1972, an automobile accident claimed the lives of his wife and infant daughter and put his two young sons in a hospital. To allow him to remain at children's bedside, Secretary of Senate Francis Vallejo traveled to Wilmington to issue the oath of office to the new senator, a ceremony Vallejo recalled in his oral history interview. Your wife just died. Your kids are in the hospital.
Wife and your daughter, and your infant daughter's dead.
His little girl just died. She was, I believe, 9 months old.
How many days prior to that event is this swearing take?
It had to be days, right?
I'm not
days
certain.
after the
I'm
accident.
not certain, but they're still there. I know.
I have to know now, Rob. I have to know this now. This is. So let me,
She died December 7th, 18th, 1972.
Okay.
Well, that doesn't make any sense, because this says was elected November 1972. Let me see when he was actually sworn in.
When was he sworn in?
Yeah. She died.
What exact date was Joseph Biden sworn into Senate? That's all you got to look. What day?
Look, you see the pictures of them.
There's two other photos. I saw the ones in the middle.
Hunter was, what? That happened in 72. Hunter would have been like 2. And Bo would have been 3? That's tough.
Well, January 5th, 1973, December 18th, it's 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So 12 days, 13 days, December 31st. So 18 days later, they're still at the hospital. You're being sworn in. You won November. And can you go back to the other picture, Rob? Can you go back to the other picture? Yeah, can you go to that one? What? That's Hunter and Bo.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Is that his leg broken?
I think.
Yeah, that's a leg in a sling.
Yes, and I think I was told, actually, as I was writing the book, I don't know this for certain, but I was told that Hunter suffered a traumatic brain injury.
Hunter did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
They said that was some sort of public knowledge. I did not know that until, you know, I was writing this book, and one of the women that was kind of helping me organize things and whatnot, she said it's actually been found that Hunter suffered a traumatic brain injury at that time.
Wow.
And, that apparently has some sort of way of leading people to addiction as well.
He never talked about any of this stuff. Never. Got it.
No, he never talked about the accident.
I mean, honestly, when you're at that level, I don't know if Hunter trusts anybody.
Right.
Did you ever see any of his friends where he's like, this is my guy that I trust no matter what? Like, was it Haley? And maybe I'm saying the name incorrectly. Was it another friend? Was it a relative? Did he have anybody that he 100% trusted?
No, the only one friend that I'd met a couple times was Devin Archer. Mm-hmm. And, I talk about that throughout the book and going out with them one time. And he seemed, I don't know what, Devin was going through something at the time, just kind of seemed down. Hunter was trying to cheer him up.
So Devin Archer was the only one that you feel Hunter trusted the most?
I don't know. I don't know if I'd say trusted the most. I don't know. I know they were friends. That's how, it was presented to me from Hunter. And then when I met him, he seemed to,
And just for context, Devin is the one from Burisma Holdings. From April 2014 to October 2019, Archer and his business partner, Hunter Biden, served, if you go to the Wikipedia, served on the board of Burisma Holdings, one of the largest private natural gas producers in Ukraine. And this is the part when Hunter Biden was asked, Rob, you can pull this up, when he was asked, if your father wasn't a vice president, do you believe you would have been sitting on the board? And he says, probably not. So this is also at a time where he's going through all this controvery when you guys are together. Did you ever have interactions with Devin or no?
Yes.
Was he, it seemed like a stand-up guy?
Devin, a couple times. Yeah. I think, I don't remember the exact timeline as to when I met him, but, he was going through something and Hunter was trying to cheer him up, and he seemed to himself. He seemed...
Devin or Hunter?
Devin.
Okay.
And, he seemed down about whatever was going on.
Do you remember the month?
I don't.
Was it 19 or 20?
The year?
Yeah.
Oh, no, it would have been 2017.
Oh, 17. So, I mean, this is the thick of things. This is when they're kind of going. Is this it, Rob?
The clip of Hunter being asked if his father wasn't president.
Can you play this clip?
Yeah.
Okay, if you go for it.
If not more.
In the list that you gave me of the reasons why you're on that board, you did not list the fact that you were the son of the vice president.
Of course, yeah. No.
What role do you think that played?
I think that it is impossible for me to be on any of the boards that I just mentioned without saying that I'm the son of the vice president of the United States.
You were paid $50,000 a month for your position?
Look, I'm a private citizen. One thing that I don't have to do is sit here and open my kimono as it relates to how much money I make or did or didn't. But it's all been reported.
If your last name wasn't Biden, do you think you would have been asked to be on the board of Burisma?
I don't know. Probably not. I don't think that there's a lot of things that would have happened in my life that,
at least he is,
that if my last name wasn't Biden.
Part of it where he's like,
it's like whatever, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
This is a very, you seem very reasonable. You seem very resolved in the way you've made your decisions. You seem like you're at peace right now yourself, but you seem to have, you seem to understand Hunter's pain. And if I was somebody that's watching this, I would say you're putting a little bit more of the responsibility on the father. I may be wrong, but that's the feeling I'm getting. Am I off?
Putting more responsibility
of his pain on his father.
No, I think it comes from everything. That's not, like the tragedies and everything that he's gone through, losing Bo. And then, the picture that I brought up, you asked about how I felt about that, not that situation, but how Joe handled or whatever. And I didn't understand. But I know that Hunter always, he talked very highly of, there's a story in the book and about, I think think the chapter is like, he meant well. And even though he battled addiction, he went out of his way to try to do good things for people. And like one night we're on the train to New York City, and there's an elderly lady sitting in front of us, like, first off, probably way too old to be traveling alone, especially at nighttime. It was like the one of the last trains out that night. And she sees us, and he's looking up like rental houses and stuff on his laptop, and we're looking at them. And he loved the colonial style houses, and so we were looking at them and sharing pictures and just talking and giving advice. And she turned around, asked what time it was, and kind of a couple times when we would go back and forth, she would turn around and laugh at us. And she asked what time it was, and so Hunter engages in conversation with her, and he's like, you know, what are you doing on a train this late? And you don't have a phone? You don't? She said, no. She said, my nephew, with whom I've raised, is dying of the same form of cancer that Bo had.
Oh, wow.
And she said, she didn't say that. She called it by name, but it's a I don't know the exact name of it. And she said, and I'm going to see him. And the family, she said, I don't have a phone. The family, she had somebody that was going to pick her up at this train stop at the stoplight, outside the train stoplight in like Newark, New Jersey. And Hunter instantly, I knew as soon as she said that, he instantly gets up, he walks past me, he goes and he sits with this lady, he hugs her, he talks to her, he has that empathy for her. And he talks about, you know, the things that his brother struggled with during that, going through, you know, that process. And he felt her pain.
Yeah.
And he meant well, because he says, you know what, I'm going to get your stuff and I'll take you to that stop myself. I'll make sure you get to your family and blah, blah, blah. And I just sit there, and he gets to the stop. Hunter gets her. He gathers her things. He says, I'll be right back. I said, okay. And he takes her to the stop. And then the train takes off. And I'm thinking, oh, God, he didn't make it back. Mm-hmm. Well, he's running from like the front of the train. He makes it. He sits down. He's out of breath. And they come over the loudspeaker and they say, next stop, Newark, New Jersey. And he's like, and he looks at me, and I lost it. I started laughing. I said, oh, you just put that old lady out on the wrong stoplight.
So
he's like,
funny.
Oh my God,
up.
he freaks out.
So messed up. Nobody's ever heard from her again.
No, he freaks
She's
out.
gone.
He runs to the front. He's like, we've got to stop this train. We got to turn around. Like, I have put an old lady at a stoplight. I've got to go back and get her. And they're like, we can't stop the train. Like, we're sorry. He gets off on the next stop, goes back and gets this woman. And instead of us, like, we were going to go out to have a late dinner, maybe go out and do some things and come back. Instead, all of that is postponed. And I have to go to this loft that we're staying at by myself. He goes, takes care of this woman, puts her on the right stop. And mind, it's December. It was like snowing in New York. And then finally at 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, there's a knock on the door. And it's Hunter, and he's in his T-shirt. He also had given his jacket on the way back.
To her.
He had given his jacket to a homeless man because he was cold. His cell phone was in it. Bo's dog tags were in it. And his wallet was in it. And he's just like, can't get it together. Well, I'm laughing because I think it's funny. And he's like, you need to call my phone. I said, well, honey, I've been trying to call your phone for the last 3 hours. And that homeless man hasn't answered me yet, so he's not going to answer. But he did answer. And eventually, like throughout the night. And then the next day, you know, we get Bo's dog tags back and the phone, whatnot. Hunter even tells him, says, if you bring it to me, you can keep the phone, you can keep the wallet. I want my brother's dog tags. And he does. He gets them back.
That family forgets stuff all the time. Like, I mean, they forget stuff at the repair shops. So
if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.